everyone, and welcome to this new moon reading for the September Virgo new moon. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. What I'm going to do is, instead of 12 individual videos, I'm going to do one long video for all the 12 zodiac signs, and I'll just put timestamps in the description box so that you can go directly to the reading for your particular geoscope. But before that, I thought it would be nice just to talk a little bit about the astrology of this particular new moon. I am going to do a more in-depth forecast on my website for subscribers, so if that's something that you're interested in, then do go and sign up. It's free. Just go to the front page of my website, astrologysphere.com, and just go to /subscribe, and you can just sign up there for my newsletter and then access to the membership area of my website. But yes, just a couple of things. So this particular sun and moon will they will make a conjunction at about 25 degrees of Virgo, so quite late in Virgo, and they will make a conjunction to a fixed star called Coherence, which is part of the hunting dogs constellation that is essentially joined to the constellation of Bootes, which is where Arcturus, the star Arcturus, is found. So this particular new moon phase is going to have quite an Arcturian feel to it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more developments when it comes to kind of new earth strategies, systems, sacred architecture, new technologies that relate both sacred architecture and sacred geometry to ley lines of the earth, but also technologies coming from the stars. You know, very futuristic kind of energy, but systems based. So it's kind of philosophy, but it's practical, hands-on systems and technologies and information, and it's used to kind of further the way that we live here in the 3D on the earth, in, you know, to sort of take us into the future, basically, live more sustainably and so on. And I think if we tie that to the sign of Virgo, I think this is about living with, cooperating with nature rather than competing against her or trying to kind of dominate her. And I think that's going to be a big theme that we're going to see, you know, over the next couple of weeks as we head towards the equinox. So then the two stars that are associated with the hunting dogs are Coherence, which is the alpha star in one of the dogs, and then there's another dog that is called, it's a pair actually, they're called Asterion and Cara, and Cara is the fixed star that's going to be, or that hunting dog is going to be the most parallel to the sun and the moon. So it's interesting because Cara in Latin means joy, and I really think that what we're being asked to do over the next couple of weeks is to really try and cultivate joy within us, because joy is the foundation really of the emotions that we can use to build momentum to manifest, for example. And of course Virgo is the corn, or the wheat goddess, associated with Spica. You know, Spica is the era of corn in the constellation of Virgo. So this is very much about harvest, abundance, and finding very practical ways to manifest abundance in the months, you know, to come. And it's interesting that we've had so much dog symbolism around these last few months when it comes to the lunar phases. You know, we had back in July at the new moon in Cancer, we also had a strong emphasis on dogs through fixed stars being prominent, such as, for example, Canis Minor, which was rising heliacally with the sun at that time. And then of course in August at the full moon in Pisces, we had I think around about the full moon in Pisces, we had Venus making a conjunction to Procyon, and all of these constellations and these fixed stars are very much associated not just with dog symbolism, which I think is very important because it points to soulmates, soul tribes, loyalty and friendships, soul bonds, bonds of the heart, all of those things, bonds that are here to stay. Which I think we will continue during Libra season, but also I think because this ties into Procyon starseed kind of tasks, which are, a lot of them are associated with agriculture and with sustainable ways of producing food. So I think that's also going to be a big theme, because of course Virgo is all about diet, health and nutrition. So other things to, you know, to sort of watch out for over the next couple of weeks. The key aspect that's going to be active is going to be the aspect between the Sun, the Moon and Saturn, which is all about discipline, self-discipline, but also manifesting. Saturn is the manifestor par excellence, but of course this comes through hard work and self-discipline, about being consistent. So I think that's going to be a big theme as well over the next couple of weeks. So really about getting organized, being consistent, being self-disciplined, all of these good energies that I think over the next couple of weeks can really help us to make progress, because of course Saturn is going to be in and out of that square to Mars. Mars is retrograde, and of course it's moving back towards the square that it made to Saturn at the end of August. So we're going to have a second pass of that at the end of September. So that energy is going to be around in the background, and that's causing a little bit of frustration. I think, you know, in many respects it's really asking us to eliminate resistance. So if we do have obstacles come up, I think it's a question of making some adjustments, and also realizing, you know, maybe we need to let go of what's not working, and also not to try to dominate so much, not try to kind of control or force things. If they're not flowing, then I think it's probably a sign that something isn't ready for us, or it's the wrong time. So you know, those are two things to sort of look out for in terms of themes. But we'll see how they come out in the readings themselves, because very often we see echoes of this in the readings. So let's get into those, starting with Aries, and see what wants to come out. Hi Aries, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your Geoscope and see what wants to come out. So I've had a piece of quartz crystal sitting on the cards, and as you can see, I have redesigned them, but I'm not 100% happy with them. So I'm going to make some tweaks and also make them a little bit bigger. And once I've done that, I may offer them for sale via my website. But I'll let you know. I'll announce it here on YouTube and on social media once they are ready. But anyway, it'd be good to get your comments in general. They aren't perfect, but you know, just let me know if you can see them a little bit better with maybe a comment in the just, you know, down below. And of course, if you enjoy these videos, then do feel free to like, share and subscribe. It's always most appreciated. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to deal some cards. I'm not going to do conversions. I'm a little bit time pressed this week. So I'm going to populate the chart, and then I'm going to clarify using some trinkets from the Magpie Oracle, and I'll follow that up with an oracle card just to end the reading as a kind of wrap-up piece of advice. Okay, I think that's nicely shuffled. Let's cut the cards. I'm feeling inclined to do that. Okay, so let's I'm using the Golden Dawn system of populating the houses, which is to go in accordance with the sort of angular, succedent and then cadent houses, which is sort of, you know, the way that astrology organizes the houses. Okay, interesting. So let's turn over the four cardinal houses to start with, just to get some themes. Okay, so interesting. So it looks as though going into this particular new moon, you're quite keen to come together with others, particularly one other person. There seems to have been some kind of disappointment or separation with a significant other. Another, you know, a friend. It could be a spouse. It could be just somebody who's close to your heart, or that you have a very strong relationship with, an ongoing relationship with. And it does look as though, you know, there's been some kind of either separation or disagreement, and you're keen to kind of kiss and make up. That's the way that it looks. Now, it's interesting because we've got the same geomantic figures here in your 4th and your 10th house, and of course this is an axis. So it seems as though what you're keen on is support and perhaps some favors from family members, but also from VIPs or higher ups, so mentors or sort of higher ups. you're keen for support, and that could also be why we've got conjuncture here in your first house. But you're definitely keen to sort of come together with others, which is quite unusual for you, Aries, because you are normally quite an individual, you're quite independent. So interesting, but we are moving into Libra season. You know, the equinox is just around the corner, so that is very much about your kind of your polar opposite energy, which is all about collaboration, harmony, and working with others. So maybe you're kind of feeling that energy already. Now let's see what else is going on. So starting with the position of the sun and the moon at this particular new moon, we've got Via here in your 6th house. This is where the sun and the moon are. And interesting that we've got a geomantic figure associated with the moon, Via. Now Via is all about forward movement, momentum, can also be about travel. So you may be traveling for work because this is the 6th house of work. It could also be that if you've been, you know, suffering health-wise, that things start to kind of move forward for you now. You maybe find the right practitioner to see, or you get a referral. Perhaps you've been waiting for an appointment, something of that ilk. But there's definitely movement and progress happening here for you over the next 2 weeks. So that's quite a nice, you know, geomantic figure to have in this particular sphere. Now, what's interesting is that we've got Via also here in your 3rd house, which is, it's all about communication, but also, you know, short-term or short trips, commuting, that kind of thing. So maybe the way that you travel to work is changing. Perhaps you've decided to cycle to work, for example, or maybe you have changed jobs. There seems to be movement here. Communications back and forth. You could also be negotiating a new employment contract or talking to suppliers, possibly negotiating with a new employer, for example. But yes, there's definitely movement and momentum in these 2 areas. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're changing jobs, or you know, you are renegotiating your contract, or you've got new colleagues coming in. So maybe there is turnover here when it comes to your everyday work environment. That's another possibility. And then as far as aspects are concerned, we've got, as I said, Mars, that Mars-Saturn square, which is obviously going to be impacting you, Aries, because you are ruled by Mars. So Mars is here in your 1st house, and Saturn is in Capricorn, and for you that is 10th house of career. So interesting, as I say, that we've got this Fortuna minor here. So it does seem as though you perhaps want some, you know, VIPs or people in positions of power to maybe oil the wheels for you, maybe to help you overcome potential obstacles, you know, when it comes to advancing in your career or with plans. That's certainly a possibility, because, you know, I mean, what's interesting is that we do have Rubeus here in your 2nd house, and this is Mars, of course, in the sign of Scorpio, which normally indicates where we feel a little bit aggravated, irritated, or things aren't really going very well, where we may feel a little bit stuck. And 2nd house is, of course, self-esteem and money. So maybe, you know, there has been a bit of an issue when it comes to, you know, either there hasn't been work and now there is some kind of employment, or it could be that you've been in dispute with maybe a financial partner or a business partner over money. And if so, don't worry, because Fortuna Major here in your 8th house suggests that things are going to improve in that sphere. This is the house of, you know, contracts as well as shared resources. So I do feel as though working together is definitely a good way forward if we look at the 2 geomantic figures that we've got here. This is the one for income, and income earned through your own means, and then this is income or fortune generated through concerted efforts with other people, joint efforts. So I do think that, you know, it does look good. Your instincts are good here to be working with others, to cooperate with others. And if you are in some kind of lawsuit, because we've got Corsair here in your 9th house of, you know, legal matters, I do see that even if there is loss in the short term, or it's been a bit of a hassle to, you know, to sort of get to this point, things will work in your favor in the end. So if this is about a legal dispute, fear not. You may be worried about money, maybe you're worried about what the legal bills are going to come to, but in the end I think you're going to come right. So that's really good. So keep the faith, keep positive. We've got Letitia here in your 12th house. Definitely stay positive, and I think things will work out quite well. So let's just do a little bit of clarification on those key areas. First of all, with conjunctio. Interesting. So emphasizing Mars here, which is, I guess, you know, you wanting to make progress, you wanting things to sort of move forward, you know, for things to kind of advance. That's completely understandable. Sometimes this can also be about you know, initiating something new. So that's just perfect for a new moon, really. Interesting. So for the 6th house, we've got the anchor. So this is all about stability, and to me this talks about one of two things. Either things have been a little bit stuck because of that Saturn-Mars square, and now they are about to start moving again, or you're looking for some kind of regular or kind of secure employment. Maybe you've been out of work for a little bit due to, you know, economic shifts that have been brought about by COVID-19. That may be why you've got Rubeus here. Maybe you've been a little bit stressed about money, but this suggests that, you know, a stable job is coming in, which, you know, I think is what this momentum is all about, and why you've also got Fortuna Minor here in your 10th house. So that's looking positive. Let's pull one for the 7th house. Interesting. So this is the rope, which is often about where we feel tied down or stuck. So this does either point to maybe the end of a long-term relationship, or it could also be about feeling at the end of your rope when it comes to perhaps some kind of legal dispute, as I said. Maybe with your former employer, maybe they let you go and they didn't pay you everything that they owed you. But as I say, don't worry, because it does look as though that will end ultimately in your favor. Okay, and then one for Saturn. Yeah, so here we've got the snake. Now this can be read in two ways. The one is that you know, you feel as though you've been stabbed in the back by somebody, maybe by this person, maybe this is an employer, or it could be a long and drawn out process that's now coming to an end. And that fits with Saturn, actually, because Saturn does tend to slow things down, and that's obviously the opposite of the way that you like to work, Aries. The quicker the better. So I think, you know, not a bad thing to actually slow things down. It might actually mean that you don't make any mistakes, and that may be why we've got Corsair here, which is Saturn in Capricorn energy, telling you to just sort of slow down and master skills, but also master situations so that you don't miss important details. You know, that could be the make or break that you need in order to sort of end things well when it comes to, for example, a legal dispute of some kind. So that's interesting. Let's pull a final bit of advice for you. So this is the Universe Has Your Back deck by Gabby Bernstein. And I just love it because there's so much sort of lunar imagery on these cards that it really makes sense to use them for, you know, for readings like this where I'm looking at moon phases. So that's a lovely message to end on. When I accept the love of the universe as my primary teacher, I will always be guided back to the light. And I think in a way what it's emphasizing for you is Letitia here in your 12th house of the psyche. So Letitia is all about happiness and joy, lightheartedness, that kind of unbearable lightness of being that helps us to get through difficult situations. You know, that joy that I was talking about at the beginning of this, the introduction to this particular forecast, joy, which is epitomized by that fixed star Kara that's going to be prominent close to the sun and the moon at this particular new moon. So lovely reading, Aries. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hi Taurus, welcome to your reading. I hope you've had a good 2 weeks. Let's get into your reading. So as you can see, I have redesigned my cards, but I'm not 100% happy with the alignment. So I'm going to do a little bit of a tweak, and I'm also going to make them a touch bigger. Once I've done that, I will let everybody know, and then if they want to pre-order some, then they can do that. Anyway, I'm going to do something a little bit different this week. I'm going to just deal the cards into the house, so I'm not going to do conversions. And then I'm going to qualify or clarify some of the important geomantic figures with some trinkets from the Magpie Oracle, which was developed by a friend of mine. And then after that, at the end of the reading, I will end it off with an oracle from the Universe Has Your Back deck. So just something different. It's always nice to change things up. I'm an air sign. I need a little bit of variety in my life. Right, let's cut the cards. Use the Golden Dawn system. And see what's going on for Taurus. Okay. So Taurus, it looks like you're very career orientated at this particular time, but also there seems to be some kind of possibly dispute, or you might be feeling a little bit fixated, shall we say, with a particular person, possibly of the feminine persuasion, because you've got Puella here, which is Venus in Libra in your 7th house. So I think this is probably a reading for a Taurus male. That's my feeling. Or somebody, you know, with masculine energy, because this is very feminine. Starting off your reading, we've got Rubeus, which is Mars in Scorpio in your 1st house. So this tells me that you are feeling a little bit fixated, possibly. Rubeus can be a little bit obsessive. It's kind of that fixed water energy. So it's about emotions that have got stuck. And very often they are to do with negative things, because I don't know if you can see, but the geomantic figure is a cup turned upside down. So there's a sense of like spilt milk or spilt wine. So this is either somebody that you are romantically drawn to, or somebody that you are having a dispute with. So that's interesting. Now what's interesting too is that this card, Puella, is all about harmony and, you know, things going well in relationships. So it does look as though the other person potentially wants to work things out, or that you will work things out. Now this person could also be a family member, because we've got Venus again in your 4th house, this time in your sign of Taurus. So a Missio here in your 4th house talks about feelings of loss or just regret. Things haven't really panned out perhaps in a family or a property situation, and you know, maybe you're feeling a little bit kind of remorseful about it. But the good news is that here in your 10th house, we've got Jupiter in Sagittarius, Acquisitio, and this is all about financial gain, and usually it's gain from activities in the past. So it's basically our hard work paying off. This is very expansive and optimistic energy, so it's looking good for your career, if nothing else. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, so it could well be that two things: that you are in dispute with somebody, having a bit of an argument with one other person, a significant other. And then I think that there may also be a situation where this family or money, I think it's money matters to do with the home or the family, because we've got a Missio here twice in your, both in your 2nd house of income and in your 4th house of home and family. So maybe there is maybe you sold a family home and you don't feel that you got what you deserve, or maybe you're still waiting for payment. Maybe there's been an issue with the transfer of funds. maybe the bond hasn't gone through, and you are talking to the bank, but I do sense that there's been loss, and this can sometimes be financial loss in the second house to do with home or family. Now it could also be a divorce potentially going on here. We've got Rubeus again in the 5th house of children, so it could be a dispute, custody dispute, for example, and that may be why there's a family element involved here. But certainly it seems to be disrupting your sense of harmony. We've got Tristia in your 6th and your 12th house. This is the mind-body connection. So it does look as though you are losing a little bit of sleep potentially over this situation, and also that it's disrupted your everyday life, your routine, which would make sense if you've moved home or you've had to move out, or vice versa. It does mean that a family's potentially been broken up, or you've had to move out of the family home, and this is natural. It's going to disrupt things a little bit. Now obviously for Taurus that is quite a big deal. You do like your routines. It helps to keep you grounded, so that's totally understandable. But the good news here, Taurus, is that things are going to look up when it comes to negotiations to do with anything that is joint finances. So if you're in discussions about splitting potentially assets in a divorce, or whether you are discussing legal matters in conjunction with the sale of a home, or God forbid a will or an inheritance, I do think that things will end well for you. We've got Jupiter here in Pisces in your 8th house, so this is Laetitia, which is very upbeat energy, very joyful, happy. So I think things will end well there. And of course we've got Acquisitio here in your 10th house, which is also, things are looking up as far as career is concerned. So even though things may not be so great in the domestic aspect of your life, I think that things are on the up when it comes to career and also finances. And let's not forget too that we've got Puella here in your 7th house. So I do think that if you are potentially in dispute with somebody, or if you're keen on somebody, you've got your eye on somebody, because we've got 5th house, this can also be new relationships. And we've got Rubeus here twice, so it's possible that you're feeling quite passionate about one other person, and it does look as though things will work out in that sphere. So that may also be why we've got Laetitia in the 8th house of sex and intimacy. Could be that your lucky stars are about to shine when it comes to a new relationship if you're single. So let's pull some trinkets just to clarify. Okay, so whatever it is that you are feeling a little bit agitated about has been long and drawn out, and may potentially have involved some kind of betrayal, because we've got the snake here, which can be read in one of two ways. It can be somebody who's a little bit duplicitous and backstabbing, or it can be a long and drawn out process. So if you are, as I say, discussing some kind of house sale, or potentially a legal matter, because you've got Cast there in your 9th house of legal matters, then I can understand that you're feeling a little bit frustrated, because it's been a long process that you just want to end. Now of course what I haven't done is talk about the new moon. So for you this falls in Virgo, and that means that it is, I think, in your 5th house. So yes, looking good for new relationships, fresh starts when it comes to creativity, family, and this is children, as well as anything to do with leisure activities. So let's put a trinket for that. Interesting, we've got the letter. So this is all about incoming communication, so possibly an email, or maybe you're sending an email to somebody you admire, or maybe they admire you and they're sending you an email. But it's interesting, we've got Rubeus in your 3rd house of communication, so definitely a bit of pash going on here, Taurus. Interesting. Okay, so let's also just pull some trinkets for those positive. Yeah, interesting. So here for your 8th house we've got the child. So this is the start of something new. So it definitely could be a new pash, but it could also be that, you know, if matters have been long and drawn out when it comes to a legal matter, or the sale, the joint sale of joint assets, such as, for example, a family home, that things take a turn now. There's a kind of a cycle refresh. So that's interesting. It could also be that a small tweak may change everything, and you know, that may be why things go from this quite difficult energy to quite positive energy. So let's have one for the 7th house. Yeah, definitely. So we've got the birds here for Puella. This is all about communication, and as we can see, we've got 2 owls and a heart. So I do see that if you are potentially either interested in somebody romantically, or if you are currently separated or in dispute with somebody, that communication will resume, or start, whatever the case may be, and that things should go well, because Puella is usually about success or harmony in relationships, so a coming together again, potentially after a separation. Right, let's have one more for Acquisitio. Nice. The bouquet, which is all about surprises, gifts, and gain. So perfect for Acquisitio, which, as I say, is all about expansion and gain as a result of hard work. So this is about hard work paying off, essentially, which is nice. Let's get a final oracle for you. Wonderful. So I think this is talking about that difficult Rubeus and Amisio energy. I witness the darkness and call on the light with my prayer. Thank you, universe, for guiding me to perceive this fear through the eyes of the teacher of love. So I think that is going to be a big theme, actually, in this particular new moon. With that, we've got, you know, that Saturn Mars square, is to really see any particular challenges as either a karmic test, so something that needs to be seen as an initiation, and that if you pass the test, you are admitted to the Temple of Wisdom, and also you know, as kind of seeing that, you know, if there is resistance of some kind, then maybe it's an indication that it's time to let go of, to eliminate resistance, and that sometimes means letting go of a particular way of doing things, particular way of seeing things, you know, or just letting go of a particular avenue that's not really working out. It's obviously not meant for you. So I hope that's been useful and helpful, Taurus. All the best for the next 2 weeks, and I'll catch you in a fortnight. Hi Gemini, welcome to your reading. So let's get into it. I've had a little quartz crystal sitting on the cards, but let's get into your reading. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently. Why not? You understand, you're an air sign. We like a bit of variety in our lives. I'm going to just deal the cards straight into the casting cloth rather than do conversions, and then I'll clarify a few of the key geomantic figures with some trinkets from the Magpie Oracle, which was developed by fellow Gemini, Carrie Paris, who's a good friend of mine. And then we're going to end this particular reading with a lovely oracle from the Universe Has Your Back deck, which I think is always a lovely way to round off a reading. Whoopsie. Whoops. Still getting used to the fact that these are quite waxy in terms of the coating. Still not 100% happy with the design, so I'm going to tweak them a bit more and make them bigger, I think. And then I'll let you know when they are ready for sale. Anyway, still be good to get your feedback if you like them and if they are easier to see with the camera. Okay, let's see what's going on. Gosh, this has been a theme throughout most of the readings so far. So you're coming into this new moon feeling a little bit stressed, shall we say. And it may be because you don't feel as though there's enough momentum happening either with a long-term partner. Maybe you feel like they need a fire lit under their ass, or maybe it is because of some kind of loss or disappointment to do with a family member or possibly a property. But the good news is that things are looking up in terms of career. So if things have stalled over the last few months, possibly due to all these COVID shenanigans, then I think things are going to pick up nicely. Letitia is very upbeat, positive, optimistic energy. So I think you're going to have a spring in your step by the end of the next 2 weeks, and that's really good to see. And you know, it's interesting because it does fit quite well with the new moon energy. Virgo is all about career, abundance, you know, work, that kind of thing. Virgos can be workaholics. So nice to see that for you. Yeah, let's see what else is going on. So this new moon will actually happen here in your 4th house. So interesting that we got Tristia here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clarify this just to find out what is causing this disappointment. Okay, so either something has been very slow moving and kind of long and drawn out, a bit of a drama, a saga, or a family member you feel has stabbed you in the back or betrayed you in some way. But it's definitely causing you quite a lot of heartache because you've got Tristia repeated in your 12th house of the psyche. So it could be keeping you up at night. You may be a little bit either sad because Tristia is literally tears in Latin, or it could be that you are, you know, you're kind of a bit stressed and feel like, oh, where did things go wrong? What could I have said differently? You know, mulling the situation is kind of going round and round, you know, in your mind. Yeah, I mean, interesting energy. If I think about Saturn, which is going to be making positive aspects to the Sun and the Moon here. Saturn for you is, I think, 11th house. No, it's not. Saturn is, this is Sagittarius, so it's here. Saturn is here. So interesting, we've got Mercury in Gemini, Albus. So turning over a new leaf when it comes to joint finances. Now, if this matter is about a disappointment when it comes to either the sale of a family home or potentially a will, maybe you're in dispute with family members about a will, a legacy of some kind. It looks to me as though there's a fresh start possible here. Albus is a white or blank sheet of paper. And I do get the strong sense that because we got the color white here, that this could be about a will. Maybe there's been a will of a family member that's been contested. And so let me pull a clarification on that as well. Interesting. So it could be the will of a mother. This is the crane, which is very often associated with the mother, with birthing things. Can also be something new, and of course Albus can be new too. So maybe you get a fresh or a second chance to sort something out, to sort of talk things over, and to get a legal matter settled in a way that, you know, that benefits both parties. Because we've got it repeated here in your 2nd house of money. So I do feel as though this is some kind of dispute over money, possibly over a will, and that may be why we've got Tristia, you know, here in your 4th house. But looking, you know, at some of the other aspects that are you know, going on, other things in this reading, we do have a lot of positivity going on in other areas of the chart. So, for example, in the 5th house, which is new relationships as well as children and holidays, we've got Fortuna Minor. So Fortuna Minor is help and support from others. So if you are, for example, in dispute with a family member, it looks as though children will take your side. It can also be, you know, positive development. So a holiday maybe is what is required. Maybe you just need to sort of get away and clear your head a little bit. If you are keen on a new relationship, if you're looking for somebody new, then I do see movement in this area. I do see somebody new coming in for you with these two geomantic figures. And then over here in your 11th house of friendships, we've got Fortuna Major, which is wonderful. This is really positive energy, very upbeat, success, charisma. So being popular, basically, Gemini. And let's face it, it's been quite difficult to actually socialize during the last couple of months. You know, I was saying to somebody, it's almost like we've become unmoored from our kind of our habitual ways of socializing or communicating. And as we get to the second half of the year, I think people are feeling like they want to come out of their shells a little bit. So that's nice. I do think that, you know, there's potentially some celebrations and some communing that's going to be coming in over the next 2 weeks, which is nice. So let's pull you an advice card just to end the reading. And, you know, if you're interested, I will be doing an extended astrological reading for subscribers of my website. So that gets more into the astrology of this particular 2-week phase. So if you haven't signed up, do think about it. It's free. All you have to do is go to astrologysphere.com/subscribe and just complete the form. So what advice have we got for Gemini? Wow, wonderful. It's my reality. What I focus on is what I will manifest. So I think that's kind of the key here, is to really focus on not on the sort of the difficulties, but on what you want. So if you want to reset when it comes to financial discussions, focus on that rather than this difficult, somewhat depressed energy that we've got here in your 12th and your 4th house. So it's a shift. There needs to be a little bit of a pivot, and this echoed actually in the 6th house and the 9th house. We've got Cauda Draconis twice actually. So this suggests something needs to be released, either when it comes to habits, everyday habits, work, or it could be the end of a legal matter here in the 9th house. Sometimes the 9th house is also about our beliefs, so those may need to shift. And it's interesting too that this new moon makes a square, a grand cross, to the nodes which are actually in Gemini and Sagittarius, so you know, across your key axis. So maybe you just need to let go of some kind of judgment, you know, or prejudice or way of seeing things, either about yourself or about a situation, and then this will pivot the energy into something more positive, which is why we've got these really positive geomantic figures here in your 10th and 11th houses. So I hope that's been helpful, Gemini. Take it easy, and I'll catch you again in a fortnight. Hi Cancer, welcome to your reading. I hope you're well and that the last 2 weeks have treated you okay. Let's get into your reading. Just to let you know that I'm going to do something a little bit different this week. I'm going to just deal the cards into the 12 houses rather than do conversions. Then I'm going to clarify a few things with the trinkets from the Magpie Oracle like I did last week. And I'll end your reading with a lovely oracle card from the Universe Has Your Back deck by Gabby Bernstein. It's got such lovely lunar imagery in it, I can't resist. And of course, Cancer, you know all about moon everything, so that should jive nicely with your energy. So let's see what's going on for Cancer. As you can see, I have redesigned my cards, but I'm still not happy with them. They've come out a little bit misaligned and they're still quite wee. So I'm going to tweak them slightly and make them a bit bigger before I offer them for sale. But I will definitely let you guys know when they're ready. And then if you would like to pre-order, you are more than welcome. So what is going on for Cancer? Interesting, Cancer. So fresh start for you when it comes to work and home. Looks like you're missing somebody though. We've got conjunctio here in your first house, but then we've got a missio in your seventh. So it looks like you're missing somebody, or something hasn't worked out. Maybe a new relationship, or maybe a long-term partnership. Now, of course, this could be work or it could be romantic. We'll find out more in a due course. But definitely a reset happening for you when it comes to both home and career. Interesting. So it's possible, Cancer, that you are thinking of relocating for your career, because you've got Capricornus twice in your 9th and 10th house. So Capricornus is a fresh start, a new beginning, and it's in your 9th house of foreign travel, as well as your 10th house of career. So maybe you are thinking of, maybe that's why we've got a new start for you in terms of home, because you're thinking about relocating. Possibly it means that you may be separated either from a child or some significant others, you know, like friends, for example. And that's why we've got Tristia here in your 11th house of friendships, because you are worried about missing your people, your peeps. So that's kind of understandable if that is what's happening. But the good news is that this will benefit your pocket. Letitia here in your 2nd house of income looks really positive. Letitia's very upbeat energy, very joyful, and you know, I can definitely see you smiling. You've also got Counter-Deconus, so this is the tail of the dragon in your 6th house of work, suggesting that you are thinking about leaving a job or have left a job. Can also be the end of a cycle when it comes to health and nutrition. So if you haven't been well, then it looks like that cycle is slowly phasing out. But let's just think about the new moon for a second, which happens for you in Virgo. So that's your 3rd house of communication. And here we've got Carse. Carse is all about feeling isolated or somehow imprisoned, restricted. So maybe there's been a communication blockage. Maybe you've been in separation from somebody, and that's why we've got this geomantic figure here, that you've maybe been in no contact with somebody, possibly a romantic interest that you are missing, or that you feel hasn't quite worked out the way you'd hoped. A missio can sometimes be about what's unattainable or out of reach, something that is kind of eluded our grasp somewhat. But we'll pull a trinket on that. Let's find out more. But it definitely looks as though you're keen to move forward. That's the important thing to say, Cancer. You're not going to let anything get you down. Yeah, interesting. So this is the garden, and very often this is about not just communal activities, but also things that we do online. So in public spaces or through public forums, you know, like social media. So maybe you've met somebody online and they've ghosted you, or you know, communication has kind of been cut, and maybe they've blocked you as well from their social media accounts. I'm not sure. That's one interpretation. Let's find out a little bit more about this 7th house. Yeah, interesting. We've got the Tower. Now this is different to the tarot. In Lenormand, this is all about either feeling isolated or seeking advice from somebody that you look up to. So I think in this case with the Missio here, we're talking about feeling isolated or cut off from a particular person. There's been no communication. That's what I feel. So let's just pull one for the 5th house. Yeah, definitely. The mice. This is often about loss or what's kind of eating away at us. So maybe you have a few regrets about the way you handle the situation. There's definitely a sense of loss here. Now, as I say, it could be if you are moving. It could also be that you're worried about, you know, missing certain people like friends, or children, for example, if you're having to leave your kids behind and sort of travel. But the mice is also about little things. So it's often, you know, what's kind of gnawing away at us, or what we feel at a loss about. Now I want to get you some good news. So let's find out about that with Laetitia in your 2nd house. Okay, so this has been a long time coming, Cancer, this change to your finances, but it's on the way. Definitely with Laetitia here, it's on the way, and we've got this fresh cycle in your sector of career. Also, we've got Acquisitio in your 8th house, which is joint ventures, shared finances, all of those kind of things. So, you know, if you have lost out in the short term when it comes to some kind of financial arrangement, you know, that's involves one other person, things are definitely going to improve when it comes to that. Yeah, so let's have a trinket for that Capricornus. Interesting. We've got the letter. So I do think this is either to do with an offer, you know, like a contract for a new job, maybe a letter offering you the job, or, you know, some kind of discussions, which may be also why we've got, you know, albus, which can be about kind of papers, contracts, kind of, you know, maybe, as I say, this change, this shift in your path moving forward means that you are moving, that there's a reset when it comes to where you live. Interesting. So very interesting reading, Cancer. If you're interested, I am going to be doing more in-depth astrology stuff for subscribers on my website, so think about signing up to that if you haven't already. It's free, and it'll give you access to the membership area of my website, where I do extended readings and, you know, bonus bits and pieces for my members. But let's have a nice piece of advice for Cancer, just to end off the reading. So nice. What parting advice do we have for Cancer? Oh, wonderful. My faith has the power to turn trauma into healing, conflict into growth, and fear into love. So I think that's lovely, especially if we consider it in relation to some of the figures we didn't talk about, such as Puer, which can be about conflict, particularly inner conflict when it's in the 12th, as well as this Missio that we've got here in your 7th and your 5th houses. So have some faith, Cancer. All can be healed. This is certainly the way it looks with Acquisitio here and with Laetitia, as well as Conjunctio. You know, Conjunctio can also be about coming together, collaborating, finding a way, a solution. But yeah, I hope that's been helpful. Do let me know in the comments if it's resonated, and I'm wishing you all the best, Cancer, and I'll see you in a fortnight. Hi Leo, welcome to your reading. So let's get into your Geoscope and see what wants to come out. Messages for Leo for the new moon in Virgo. So Leo, this is all about finances for you if we think about where Virgo sits in your chart. And do bear in mind that when I do these readings, I always assume that you have Leo rising. So if you're Sun Leo, but you have another ascendant, then you might want to watch the reading for that placement, because it will mean that the house placements are more correct. So the predictions I make about particular areas of your life are more likely to be accurate. Oops. As you can see, I've got new cards. I hope they're a little bit clearer. Do let me know if they are. I plan to make slightly bigger ones as well. So we'll see how those go. Oopsie. So let's take these middle cards. They seem to be jumping out. I'm not doing conversions today. I'm a little bit pressed for time, but I'm sure that the messages that come through will still be useful. Okay, Leo, so interesting. You seem to be focused on a group situation, possibly wanting a reset, maybe something to do with family. That's what I'm seeing here, because you start the reading with Populace, which is all about groups and communities, basically thinking about things from the kind of hive mind, or the sort of the group kind of group think, you know, not thinking about yourself as an individual, but where your place is within a group. And here we've got Kase in your 4th house of family and home. This can be about isolation or delays or some kind of confinement or feeling a little bit isolated. So maybe you feel that you aren't at the moment part of the, maybe you feel separated from your family. Maybe you are literally separated from your family. Or it could be that you just feel excluded on some level. So that may be what's going on here. Certainly in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships, you are keen for some kind of fresh start. This is albus, which is literally white. So it's often about a blank sheet of paper, a fresh start, wanting to turn over a new leaf when it comes to relationships. So this could either be a new relationship coming in, it could be financial, you know, it could be a business partnership, but equally it could be a fresh start, you know, with family, or it could be some kind of business partnership, because we've got Quisitio here in your 10th house of career. Very, very positive. This is often about financial gain or expansion, and in the career sector that is looking good. Let's see what else is going on in your chart. So the finances have been a little bit tight recently. Yeah, it looks like work has been a bit stressful. But I do see a contract negotiation here, or some kind of letter, possibly an offer of employment. Okay, so interesting. It looks as though the group that you feel a little bit excluded from is your friends. And that's understandable, because, you know, lockdown has made it very difficult. Even you know, with an easing of restrictions, there's still this sense of, certainly in the UK, you can't have more than 6 people kind of group come together at once. So, and people feel quite ambivalent. Not everyone wants to socialize. They don't know whether it's safe. Maybe they've got a partner that's shielding in place. So it makes it tricky, you know. I can kind of understand that there's this need to socialize. You are very sociable, very extrovert, Leo, so that kind of makes sense. And then, as I say, you've got Albus again in your 3rd house. So communication, fresh communication coming in between you and one other person. Now this could be, as I say, an offer of employment, some kind of contract to do with a business partnership, Maybe that's why you've got Acquisitio here, because money does look like it's been tight. We've got a Missio in your second house of income, which is often about loss. So it doesn't look as though work has been particularly, maybe you're a freelancer and there hasn't been a lot of work, or it's been a little bit stressful because you've been short-staffed. Not everyone's gone back to work, not everyone is feeling safe. Things are tight with small businesses, so that can cause a lot of stress. But what's interesting is that, let's think about that that new moon energy, which is here in your second house. So this is basically pressing the reset button when it comes to finances and self-worth. And, you know, I think that's reflected here in the 10th house with this Acquisitio. What's more, we've got Laetitia, also Jupiter, so the lucky planet Jupiter, in your 9th and your 10th house. So this can be about travel, can also be about publishing and, you know, things to do with companies that have a foreign connection. Education is another one. So if you work, for example, for a university, a school, some kind of teaching organization, then things are looking up, definitely, in that respect. What's more, we've got Fortuna Major in your 8th house of collaboration and joint ventures. So definitely see things looking up, particularly if you team up with one other person. And then we've got Fortuna Minor here in your 12th house of the psyche, which is all about a shift in circumstances, better luck, as well as assistance from people that are in a position to help you. So I think if you ask, you will get the help that you need. But let's do some clarifying here quickly. So 1 for Populus in that first house. Yeah, definitely you're missing your people, so that's understandable. Dying to socialize a little bit, to get out and about. Okay, let's have one for that new moon. Nice, the fish. So this is very often about an improvement in finances. So if you have been worried about that, it does look as though things are set to improve, you know, probably between the 2 weeks of this waxing moon, because as I say, my new moon readings are meant to last 2 weeks, so that's just worth bearing in mind. Well, however things seem, you know, on the day of the new moon isn't necessarily a reflection of where they'll be in 2 weeks, so just bear that in mind. And let's have one for Albus in the 7th house. Nice. So this looks like a fresh start. This is the stork, which in the Lenormand system can be either things to do with giving birth, so a mother figure, or it can be about a fresh start, a birth of some kind, a change, positive changes. And I do see a reset happening here with Albus when it comes to one other person. It could be a family member, as I say, because you do have Carcer here, which can mean that there is some kind of separation. Maybe you're not talking to somebody, or you feel excluded on some level, or just a little bit trapped, you know, maybe a little bit oppressed. Okay, let's have one for Saturn, which we haven't actually talked about. You know, the moon and the sun will be making a positive aspect to Saturn in Capricorn. So for you, that is, let me think. This is Aquarius. So the Virgo's not here. Virgo's in, where's Virgo? No, Leo, that's right, that's the second house. So Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. So Capricorn is here. Let's have one for here. Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to work, it doesn't look as though business has been that good. This is the mice, which is often about what's eating us up, or it can be about loss. Yeah, definitely. But you know, things are on the up, so You know, if business has not been great recently, just think about the fish and think about acquisitio. Things are definitely going to improve. Right, let's get you a final piece of advice from the universe has your back. What message do we have for Leo for the new moon in Virgo? Ooh, that wanted to come out. So it says, Leo, true healing occurs when I give myself permission to feel whatever feelings live below the triggers. Interesting. So yes, this feeling excluded may well be more to do with an internal perspective rather than, you know, the reality of the situation, and that may be why you are kind of refocusing here. Interesting. And also Laitisha can be about beliefs, so I do see an improvement in your mindset, and that may well improve your relationships. This could be why we've got this fresh start happening here, and in your third house of communication. So yes, I think a conversation will be had, and it'll help you just see things in a new way. So I hope that's been helpful, Leo. Lots of love to you, and I'll catch you again in a fortnight. Hi Virgo, welcome to your reading. So this is going to be a special new moon forecast for you because it is in your sign. So yes, lots of new beginnings, I would have thought, almost like a personal new year. But let's see what messages want to come out. So as you can see, I have redesigned my cards. Still not 100% happy, but you know, I do have Venus in Virgo, quite a perfectionist. So I'm going to tweak them, and once I think that they are up to scratch, I will let everybody know, and if they want to do pre-orders, they can. But hopefully they should be a bit clearer on screen. That's what I'm hoping. So big month for you, Virgo, certainly over the next 2 weeks. If you want to press the reset button, this is the time, especially when it comes to emotions and any kind of personal habits, physical appearance as well. The first house is also the body. Right, let's see what wants to come out. Not doing conversions today, a little bit pressed for time, but you know, I think shuffling is random enough. Nice. So let's start with your 4 cardinal houses. So it definitely looks to me as though you're keen to forge ahead when it comes to work and career. We've got Puer here in your 10th house of you know, of the public and of fame and fortune. So you're keen to kind of push forward, and you know, I think this is probably reflected in Mars in Aries, but of course Mars is currently retrograde, so just something to bear in mind. Now for you, Mars will be in your 8th house, so we'll have to have a look at that to see what's happening there. But needless to say, you are at the end of a kind of a personal cycle, and the start of a new one. Capricorn says all about fresh starts, circumstances changing for the better, and that kind of reset that I was talking about, which is absolutely spot on given that this is your personal new moon. So very interesting to get that geomantic figure there. In your 7th house of partnerships, we've got wonderful Fortuna Major. This is wonderful expansive energy. This is very popular kind of energy. So if you are single and you're keen to mingle, this is looking very good for you. This is definitely about charisma, feeling confident, being popular, success when it comes to relationships. Things are a little bit less so in the arena of family and home. Here we've got a missio, and a missio is very often about a sense of transience, things changing, maybe not working out the way that we'd hoped, or just missing something. Now, it could be that you've moved out of the family home. It could be that you've moved away from home, and maybe you're missing your family. Or it could be that you feel you've lost out when it comes to either a place that you wanted to rent or that you wanted to buy, because this can be about property. But we'll find out more when we turn over the other cards. Yeah, it does look as though it has something to do with a transaction, a financial transaction. Now, this could be a will, given that there's a link to family, but equally it could be some kind of legal proceedings to do with a property, where you feel as though you've lost out. Maybe somebody outbid you on a property, or you feel that you paid too much for a property, or perhaps you applied for a mortgage or a bond at the bank and you didn't get it. But there's some kind of disappointment here that involves joint finances, either with one other person or with an institution like a bank. We'll pull some trinkets to clarify in a minute. The good news is, though, that finances are definitely on the up. We've got the same trinket, the same geomantic figure in your second house of income as we do in your 10th house of career. So things are moving on when it comes to job and career and finances. You definitely seem to be ending a cycle when it comes to work. Cauda Draconis is the end, it's the tail of the dragon, so it's the end of a situation. Maybe you've left a job, or maybe you've had a dry spell when it comes to looking for something new, and that's about to end. This is definitely a cycle coming to an end. Interesting that we've also got it in your 12th house. So it does seem to be more about a kind of a psychological phase when it comes to the end of this cycle. So maybe it's just the way that you felt either about a colleague or about a particular job, or just maybe you've been feeling not very confident, and now there's this wonderful boost here as we get to the new moon of confidence, and this is what propels your career forward. So that's good news. We've also got Pura in your 3rd house of communication. So it is possible that there's negotiations here, maybe about a pay rise or about a new job, one of the two. Pura can sometimes be about new beginnings. So you could have had a change of boss, for example, and this has led to the end of a glass ceiling. Maybe you didn't feel that your boss really valued you or your skills, didn't see what you had to offer, and that's kind of shifting now, maybe a new boss coming in. But certainly there is positive changes happening when it comes to career and money that involve communication, possibly also may involve travel as well, given that we've got Puella here in both your 11th and your 9th houses, or just a group situation of some kind. Puella is really positive. It's collaboration, harmony, coming together, and we've got it here in your 11th house of groups and friendships, as well as your 9th house of foreign travel, publishing, education, as well as the law. So things looking good in that respect. But let's just pull a few trinkets to clarify. So first one for your house. The owl. Well, this is the bird. So conversations happening, which I think is emphasized by this 3rd house, Mars. Definitely momentum building when it comes to conversations, and this could be, as I say, with an employer, or it could be to do with a business partner or a significant other. So let's have one for that puer in your 10th house. Nice. We've got the bouquet, which is about a nice surprise, a gift, some kind of gain. And that's what I feel. I feel there's a positive shift happening for you when it comes to career. Right, let's have one for the 7th house. The garden. That's interesting. I mean, you are quite a gardener. So I don't know whether this is potentially meeting somebody when you go and visit a garden or a garden center. It's also about other public places, so it can be about online activities. Maybe you are teaming up with somebody to do some kind of online venture. That may be why we've got this here. Or it could be, you know, online dating. That's the other thing. I'm quite intrigued about that puer in your 2nd house. So let's have one for that. Interesting. So we've got the dog here. Now the dog is often about friendship or loyalty. So this is going to affect your finances and your self-esteem positively. So this could be about, you know, friendships, people rallying around you, but equally it could be about maybe colleagues or a boss that's now you feel has your back, and that's why there's this improvement in communications and an improvement in your finances as well as your career. Really interesting. Let's have one for that Cauda-Draconis, your 6th house. So we've got the girl here. This is kind of Venusian energy. So as I say, maybe a change in terms of colleagues. Maybe a woman is either leaving or you're getting a new female colleague. It can also be about a pet, actually. 6th house can be about pets. So maybe you're getting a female pet that makes up for maybe the loss of another pet. Interesting. Very interesting reading. Right, let's get you some final advice. Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing to say here is that although there may have been some loss when it comes to a property or a contract, that things are looking up in all the main areas of your life: friendships, relationships, career, fresh start. So I think overall quite a positive reading. Wonderful. So I think this is all about your fresh start, your personal new year. I honor how I want to feel. And that's wonderful. So really focusing on the positive, on the joyful aspects, especially since the sun and the moon will be making that aspect to the fixed star Cara, which is joy in Latin. So I think definitely focus on the positive, and everything else is going to fall into place magically for you, Virgo. So I hope you've enjoyed that reading. All the best, and I'll see you in a fortnight. Hi Libra, welcome to your reading. So let's get into your messages for the new moon in Virgo. So in many respects, this new moon is really for you a kind of, it's almost like, it's very 12th house. So you're closing out some things from the last 12 months or so before you move into Libra season. So it's kind of like that sort of darkness before the dawn. Lots going on internally. not necessarily a lot going on externally. So just bear that in mind. You're a bit like the caterpillar in the cocoon, ready to spread your wings in the Libra season. But of course, the Sun moves into Libra in the second week of this 2-week lunar phase, so we'll just bear that in mind as well. Whoopsie, got new cards and they're a little bit slippery. You've got a kind of waxy texture. I feel like that one wants to be on top. Okay. So not doing conversions today. I'm just going to do a straight reading. But I still think, you know, the messages shouldn't affect the messages too much. Right. Yes. Interesting. I think all of the readings so far, there's been some kind of something that people are kind of feeling heartbreak or a little bit stressed about, that they are working through. So it doesn't look as though you are an exception when it comes to that. We've got Puer here in your first house, which tells me that you are keen to kind of push ahead. But I think, you know, with that Mars retrograde, it's a good idea not to rush into anything. Obstacles are going to kind of get thrown up for you to slow you down, because it's really about getting clear about what needs to be eliminated from your life, where you need to eliminate resistance, what's not working. And it looks as though something is not working when it comes to relationships. Now, it could be the way that you relate to others, but equally it could be about one particular person that you are feeling you're grieving over. This is Tristia, which means tears in Latin. So I do feel as though you have either broken up, separated, or are missing somebody in your life. We'll find out more once I'm going to pull some trinkets just to clarify once we've got all the cards over. But definitely there's a sense of heartbreak or loss here when it comes to significant others. Different story when it comes to career and family though. Here we've got a fresh start when it comes to home, family and property. So that looks positive. Maybe you're moving, or you're thinking about buying property, or you have bought property. Maybe there's been a new addition to the family. That's another possibility. And then in the finance, career area, things are definitely looking up. We've got Fortuna Major, the Sun in Leo here. Wonderful energy, very successful, expansive energy, suggesting that you may be in the spotlight. But let's find out more by turning over the other cards. So it looks as though that separation may involve a friend, or just maybe your group of friends. Maybe you're not able to socialize. Yeah, look, we've got Tristia here in your 11th house of groups or friendships. So it's possible that you are missing people that you aren't able to socialize with due to restrictions, you know, on movement or travel, or, you know, the new restrictions that have come in here in the UK, which is understandable. You know, I think everyone's sort of feeling that to an extent, but hopefully you will still manage to have a good birthday anyway. That maybe was on your mind. So that new moon happens, as I said, in your 12th house. So this is where the Sun and the Moon will be, and here we've got Albus, which is white, literally. So I often interpret it as a blank sheet of paper. And as I said, you are at that point where you're kind of pressing the reset button. You're in that chrysalis. You're letting go of the past 12 months, and you're getting ready to push the reset button. And reset button is definitely something that's coming up for you here in your 4th and your 5th house. We've got the same geomantic figure, the head of the dragon. So a fresh cycle, a new beginning for you. And this could be, as I say, to do with possibly a pregnancy, because you know, this is family and this can be children. So there may be a pregnancy, some kind of conception, good news coming there. Or it could be possibly a holiday. Maybe you feel that it's time to spend more time with family, perhaps, you know, getting away or having some fun. Equally, it could be something to do with a new relationship. Maybe you're just feeling as though you want to make a fresh start in a lot of areas of your life. But definitely when it comes to those two areas, creativity, new loves, as well as children, and then home, family, property, those areas where you live, new starts are definitely possible. Then here in your third house of communication, we've got Letitia, also a really positive geomantic figure. This is light-hearted energy, it's fun, laughter, joy, and joy is a big theme at this particular new moon for the reasons that I've outlined at the beginning of this video. So something to cultivate, because I think it will be infectious. It will kind of permeate into all areas of your life. And it does seem as though there are a few areas where you are a little bit stressed. As I say, relationships, friendships, and also when it comes to either long-distance travel or education or a publishing endeavor. Can also be a spiritual matter, but you're feeling a little bit stressed or anxious or angry about something in that area. Let's get a few trinkets just to clarify, starting with that rubaeus. Yeah, so the mountain, this often indicates blocks or where we feel a little bit stuck, obstacles or delays. So maybe you have had to cancel a trip overseas due to travel restrictions, and that's kind of got you a little bit hot under the collar, which is understandable. Sorry about that, Libra. My camera decided to stop recording. So as I was saying, this trinket suggests some kind of delay or obstacle or something being thrown in your path so that progress is not possible. So either you've been prevented from studying perhaps overseas, or you were thinking about traveling to a foreign destination, or it could be that you and maybe a spiritual teacher have kind of gone your separate ways, and that may explain this tristia here. Maybe you've been kind of working with a particular spiritual group and you now feel that you're not really resonating with them anymore. That's certainly possible. It also looks as though it could have something to do with work, because you've got a missio here in your 6th house of work and health. Very often this is about disappointments or things changing. So maybe you are thinking about a new job, in which case, you know, it does look good. As I say, you've got Fortuna Major here. So let's pull a trinket on that Fortuna Major. Nice. So literally the sun shining on you. So again, I really feel quite strongly this means that you are going to be in the spotlight. You know, if you haven't succeeded so far, if you've been a bit disappointed, if you felt like you've put a lot of work into something and it's not amounted to much, that's about to change. Now the other thing that it could be is that maybe you were working on a book, and maybe the publisher's gone bust, because a lot of publishers have, and this has led to a lot of disappointment and frustration, because you've put all this work in and you're kind of thinking, well, you know, is my book going to get published? But it does look as though, you know, you will find a new publisher potentially for your book, and things will work out fine in the end. So that's a positive thing to see. Let's have just one for your, you know, for your 1st house. What was I saying about a book? That's so funny. This is the book. Now the book can be about learning, but it can also be about secrets. So yes, you will know what that pertains to, but you know, given that I've just been talking about publishing, I think it may, you know, be confirming what I was saying. Equally, it could be about secrets coming out about another person, which has left you feeling a bit disappointed, possibly feeling a little bit betrayed, maybe a friend. Maybe that's why we've got Tristia here. But let's find out a little bit more about some positive developments here. So these two fresh starts here. Nice. So we've got the ring for the 4th house. The ring is often about offers or contracts. This is about kind of permanence. So perhaps you're about to buy your own property, your own home, which will give you a nice sense of security. Equally, you could be looking to make some kind of commitment. Maybe you're going to move in with somebody, not necessarily a romantic part. It could be, you know, a house share of some kind, but definitely it looks as though there's some kind of offer here, some fresh start that will lead to security, you know, when it comes to home and family. Could also be a marriage that you're celebrating. Maybe one of your siblings is getting married or something like that. So for the 5th house, we've got the birds. Very often this is about communication. It can be people talking about you, gossiping, but equally it can be about communication with others, you know, especially when we've got the 2 owls here and then a heart. So, you know, if you're single, this looks good for chatting to new people, conversations, you know, maybe some fun dates to be had with some scintillating conversation, or maybe just, you know, discussing a holiday, possibly collaborating with somebody on, you know, a creative venture. But, you know, it does seem to involve either teaching or, you know, discussions of some kind. And, you know, interesting that in your house of communication we've got Letitia, which is, as I say, joyous conversations that will make you happy and laugh. So that's really nice to see. So let's just have one for that Tristia, just to kind of clarify quickly. Nice. So definitely a change of luck when it comes to relationships, which I think will make you happy, because you are all about relationships, aren't you, Libra? So yes, if things have been a bit disappointing in the past, things are going to change, which is wonderful. Maybe this is about that fresh start in the romantic arena. Okay, so let's have an oracle card just to finish off your reading. What advice do we have for Libra to close the reading? Interesting. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. We didn't really talk about this, but I suppose we did at the beginning. But this new moon, as I said, happens in your 12th house. So this is really all about the psyche and about consciousness. And, you know, if you are feeling a little bit stuck or having a little bit of a spiritual crisis, don't worry, because, you know, things are about to improve. I do see Albus as being very strongly connected to the Hermit card in the tarot. So I think just, you know, really make an effort to go within and to cultivate that inner guide, because if you do, look, it's a wise owl. I think you'll feel as though you're in a completely different place perspective-wise by the end of this 2-week cycle. So I hope that's been helpful, Libra. Sending you lots of love, and I'll catch you again in a fortnight. Hi Scorpio, welcome to your new moon reading. I hope you're well and that the last 2 weeks have treated you okay. Let's get into your reading. What messages do we have for Scorpio for the new moon in Virgo? Whoops. Cards are jumping. Scorpio, they want to talk. it's an interesting new moon in many respects, as I said, with that wonderful fixed star alluding to the importance of joy despite frustration, any frustration that might be caused by the Mars square to Saturn. It's also quite intense because many of the planets, the outer planets, are now back in the positions they were in January and February. So a little bit of integration needed with regards to all the issues that got thrown up by the Saturn-Pluto conjunction we had back in January. Just something to bear in mind, but I know you're up for it, Scorpio. Never one to shirk or shy away from a challenge. Right, let's cut the cards. So you probably notice I've got new cards. I have designed them myself, but I'm not very happy with the design at the moment. Needs a few tweaks. Once they are to my satisfaction, I will be offering them for sale along with my book on geomancy, so I'll let everybody know when they are available for pre-order. Nice. So you're definitely focused on success and happiness. Nice. Yeah. Scorpio, it's all about career for you this month. Fortuna major in both your 10th and 1st houses, so very career focused, which is great actually. We're moving into autumn here in the northern hemisphere, and that's usually a time when we all kind of hunker down after the holidays and get back to work, so you're very focused on that, and that looks good for you. Fortuna major is success, it is being in the spotlight, it's kudos for all your hard work, praise, being seen, you know, which is fabulous considering, you know, Scorpio, you're a very strong person, but you very often don't like attention, so it has to be kind of well-earned attention, and I do see this here with these two geomantic figures. Then in your 4th house of family and home, you've got Populus, so it's all about the group dynamic. You're keen for some family get-togethers. Maybe you have been split apart due to restrictions on travel or lockdown, that kind of thing, but I definitely see a few family get-togethers here with Populus in your 4th house. Could also be a group of you, maybe some family clubbing together to buy a property. That could also be what's going on here. We will clarify later with the trinkets. Then in your 7th house of partnerships, we've got Puer. So this is Mars energy, and it's all about momentum, new beginnings, and confidence, taking the initiative when it comes to significant others. So possibly you are thinking about offering someone a commitment. Maybe you're single and you're keen to pursue a new partnership, a new romantic relationship, or you could be very keen to defend and kind of assert your needs, maybe impress somebody, you know, possibly somebody that has the power to advance your career. But let's find out more by turning over the other cards. So let's start with the new moon itself, which falls in your 11th house of groups and friendships. Here we've got Acquisitio, very positive geomantic figure. It's Jupiter in Sagittarius, very expansive, very optimistic. This is all about hard work and then the gains that come from hard work. So definitely getting some rewards for past efforts. Often it's about financial gain, and here in your 11th house, this could suggest some kind of group funding, you know, like crowdfunding. Could be a group collaboration of some kind, where maybe a syndicate, you know, maybe you play the lottery with a syndicate. If so, maybe you're in for a bit of a win. But I'm not entirely convinced about that, because here in your 5th house of wins, we've got a missio. This is often about loss. So I don't think it's about a lottery win, maybe some kind of group project. But you know, if it is, there is good news coming. We've got Fortuna Minor here in your third house of communication. So Fortuna Minor is very often about a fortunate shift in circumstances. Can also be about support from others. So maybe you're getting messages of support coming through. Maybe you're just having a good old chat with some of your besties, your soul tribe. There's definitely a feeling of gain here. So maybe you really do feel as though you found your soul tribe after a bit of a sojourn in the desert. Maybe you've been through a dark night of the soul and things are finally on the up. But you know, working with other people, collaboration is very well favored here by Conjunctio and Acquisitio in your 8th house of joint ventures, as well as the 11th here of groups and friendships. So, you know, whatever it is, it's benefiting your career quite nicely. Now we do have a fresh start for you, as I say, with this new moon. This is always about a fresh start, and the new moon, you know, it does fall in that 11th house. Now, when a new door opens, usually it means that another door closes, and here we've got the signs of endings in your 12th and your 9th houses. This is the tail of the dragon, so very often about the end of a cycle. A psychological cycle on one hand, a cycle when it comes to beliefs on the other. It could also be about the end of a cycle that involves either a spiritual teacher, a legal matter, or it could be somebody that lives overseas, so at a distance from you. However, as I say, you do seem to have the support here in your 3rd house. So I do think that there will be some communication, some news coming in, which lets you know that a matter has been kind of wrapped up. You'll get some kind of sign or phone call or email, something of that ilk, that will tell you that something has come to an end, that it's been resolved, it's been kind of wrapped up, or this resolution, basically. Now, what's interesting about this new moon is that it will make positive aspects to Saturn in Capricorn. And, you know, Saturn for you is in your 3rd house of communication. So I definitely feel that whatever this news is coming in, this development, that it will lead to something substantial. Saturn is not just about limitations, although it can be. It's also about mastery on one hand, and it can also be about manifesting on the other. So I do feel as though this is news coming in that will bring you satisfaction, because a matter will finally come to a resolution. So let's pull some trinkets just to find out a bit more. Interesting. So we've got the book. Now very often this is about learning, and it is in the 3rd house, so this can be the house of learning and teaching. So maybe you are getting the support you need to continue your education. Maybe you've finished you know, one lot of set of studies and you are progressing on to something else. It can also be about initiation, because the book can be about secrets, and of course, you know, initiates are privy to information that other people aren't. So it could be a kind of a graduation of some kind, where you're moving up a level in terms of your spiritual development. That's another way we could look at this. Let's have one for Fortuna Major in your 1st house. So 2 wants to come out. Interesting. So this looks about like success when it comes to romantic matters of the heart, but also generally good luck. This is the clover, which is often about, you know, a surprising shift in luck, a lucky development, which is very fitting with Fortuna Major here. So definitely things are on the up for you, Scorpio. That's what I'm sensing. let's have a look at that Fortuna Major in the 10th house. Nice, the star. So yes, definitely shining like a star when it comes to your career. This can also be about having the vision to see ahead. So you could have a lot of foresight right now about which direction to head in when it comes to your future path. This can also be about divine guidance. Maybe you're getting assistance from either a mentor or a spirit guide about which way to move forward. Let's have one for that 7th house. Puer. Yeah. So forward momentum. This is the rider. It's often associated with a chariot in the tarot, and with the Mars here, this is about forward movement when it comes to significant relationships. So definitely whatever this news is coming in, I think will make you quite happy. So nice reading. Let's get you some advice just to round things off. Definitely about fresh starts, good news coming in, joyful celebrations when it comes to career, things looking up when it comes to friends, momentum in personal relationships, and get-togethers with families. So lots that's positive about this reading. So here is your message, Scorpio. When I accept the love of the universe as my primary teacher, I will always be guided back to the light. So yes, that's a nice message. I think maybe talking about the end of one cycle, you know, in terms of your spiritual development and moving on to another level. Hi Sag, welcome to your reading. Let's get your cards and get this party pumping. So what messages do we have at the new moon for Sagittarius? Well, that's interesting. Like Tisha, it's all about happiness. Big theme actually at this particular new moon. If you listen to my breakdown of the astrology at the beginning of this video, joy is definitely a big theme. Joy despite any frustration that the Mars-Saturn square may bring up. Right, let's cut those cards. I've had new cards designed and they're a little bit slippery. Okay, let's have this one. So I'm not going to be doing the conversions this week. I'm a little bit time pressed. But I don't think it'll make too much difference. We should still get a good reading. Okay, let's start with your cardinal houses. Yep, so you are keen to get going, to hit the road, Sag. Oopsie. Interesting. So conjunctio in both your 4th and 10th houses. So very keen to collaborate or get together with others, somehow kind of bring opposite things together. So it could be that you're trying to find a happy balance between work and home, your kind of work-life balance. I suppose after lockdown, a lot of us have enjoyed working from home and don't necessarily want to go back to commuting or working in an office. It is quite disruptive to family life, isn't it? So I can totally understand that. Now that may be what's going on here. We will clarify it a bit with the trinkets from the Magpie Oracle. But you're definitely keen to kind of get going. This is Via, which is all about travel. It's literally the road. So you're either keen to physically travel, or it could be that you want momentum. You want things to kind of get going again when it comes to particular life areas. We'll see once we've turned over all the cards. And then here in your 7th house, there's some kind of ending in relation to your primary or significant relationships. Something's coming to an end. Now, it could be a way of relating. It could be an argument coming to an end. It could be that you're parting ways with somebody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse, of course. It could be a work partner, a financial partnership, or simply the end of a cycle, that you've learned something and now it's time to kind of move on. Very interesting cards, actually. So let's start with the new moon itself. Now for Sag, that happens in your 10th house of career. So as I say, it doesn't look as though there's some kind of collaboration that is going to happen when it comes to career. Now this could be you working with a group of people. You've got Populus in your 11th house of groups, and this can be professional associations, not always just friendships. But equally we've got Puella in your 8th house. This can be about joint ventures with one other person. So Puella is really, it's a really nice geomantic figure. It can point to creative partnerships, but it definitely suggests harmony and fairness when it comes to the divvying up or the sharing of assets, resources, time, energy. So an equal partnership, and that's an equal effort as well. And that could be, you know, why we've got a cycle coming to an end when it comes to a partnership. Maybe in the past you've kind of felt as though you put in the lion's share of the effort and the other person hasn't really, you know, done their bit. And if that is the case, things are certainly about to change, particularly when it comes to work relationships. Now, we've also got conjuncture in your 5th house of romantic partnerships. It could equally be that you've had your share of relationships that haven't panned out in the personal sphere, where, you know, you've wanted different things, they haven't really wanted to put in the effort. Maybe you wanted to get married, they didn't, or vice versa. So, you know, it does look as though the end of whatever the cycle is can also pertain to romantic relationships. Now, 5th house can be about creativity. We do have Populus here in your 2nd house of income and in your 11th house of groups. So what I'm also seeing here is potentially some kind of group collaboration that involves either sport, creativity, the arts, or something to do with children. We also got conjuncture here in your 4th house. So this could be something to do with families. It could be something that you can do from home, but that has a kind of group dynamic to it. So maybe it's something that you collaborate with others with online, for example. But it does stand to make you money. This could be crowdfunding, or it could be, as I say, some kind of group or group-based activity that takes you forward when it comes to your career and earns you money. Very interesting. I mean, we've got one, two, three conjunctures, and we've got 1, 2, so 2 Populus. Yeah, so I definitely think that some kind of group collaboration could be in the offing. Maybe it has to do with an online platform, you know, like YouTube, some kind of social media platform, or a crowdfunding platform like Kickstarter, something like that. But definitely it does look as though creative collaborations are looking good here. But let's get some trinkets just to clarify. So what is the cycle that's ending here for Virgo? I mean, for Sagittarius. Ooh, 2 trinkets. So we've got the bouquet and we've got the girl. Very interesting. This is similar to Puella, Venus. So it does look to me as though it's a nice surprise that means, you know, a positive change in relationships, because Puella, as well as being about harmony, it's also about success in romantic relationships. So if you've had your share of heartbreak, things are definitely about to change for the better. This is a nice surprise, a gift. So a gift from the universe, maybe, in terms of a change for the better. Okay, let's have a look at that conjuncture in your 10th house. Interesting. So it's been a long road, Sag, but things are definitely about to improve when it comes to career. Let's have a look at this 5th house conjuncture. Wow, 2 again. Interesting. We've got the fox, which is about being a little bit clever or cunning, a bit of a ninja. And then we've got a crossroads. So maybe you're kind of in two minds about whether you can trust whoever this person is that you are thinking of coming together with or collaborating with. So yeah, interesting, because the fox is very often about being crafty or clever when it comes to work. So it can be like a clever colleague, but equally it could be about being a little bit having some smarts when it comes to making decisions. And then the snake can be also about, worry about betrayal. So there seems to be a trust issue here. But Puella in your 8th house suggests that you can trust this person. Let's just pull a trinket for that Puella. The garden. Yeah, so I think this is pointing to populace here in your 11th house. The garden is very often about public places or spaces. So, if you are concerned about whether you can trust somebody, why don't you somehow involve other people so that they can also help you make up your mind. If somebody is in a group situation, there's less room to manipulate than there is in a group, you know what I mean, and then there is one-on-one kind of thing. So maybe you need to either introduce this person to some of your friends, or maybe you need to do things in a public or open way so that there's transparency. That could be what's going on here, but it does look positive. So let's have one for populace here in your 11th house. Nice, the sun. So this is all about success, joy. It's similar to the sun in the tarot. So I think things will kind of work out if you involve a group of people, or possibly a professional association. You may be able to get some legal advice through a professional association, or just some professional advice, if this is some kind of legal contract to do with a work or a business partnership. And let's have one for Veer here as well. Right, so yeah, you're definitely at the end of your rope when it comes to wanting to move forward, a bit impatient, champing at the bit to get going, I feel. Interesting. So let me just think about the planets for a second here. So Saturn is sitting in your 8th house. No, it's not. Sitting in your 2nd house. 2nd house of money. So I do feel as though, yes, let's have a trinket here. Yes, so definitely something developing that has a group dynamic or a community focus that will earn you money on a regular basis, because the anchor is all about stability and security. So I definitely think a group project is the way to go when it comes to money. Interesting reading, Sag. I do recommend checking out my forecasts on my website. If you don't subscribe to my website, maybe think about becoming a member, because you'll get the extended, the in-depth forecasts that I do for the new and full moon, the astrology, which may add another layer to this reading. But lots of good fortune coming your way, I think. It just involves maybe using your intuition and your guts in order to judge, and then asking friends and getting some advice from professional colleagues as well. Keeping things open, public, transparent. Some final parting advice for Sagittarius. My capacity to tune into the energy of love gives me the words I need when I'm ready to speak up, the compassion I need when it's time to forgive, and the power I need when I am lost. And isn't it interesting that we've got fear echoed in your third house of communication and thinking? So maybe this is the key to everything, Sag. A shift in perspective, a shift in the way you communicate or think could change everything. So I hope that's been helpful, Sag. Do let me know in the comments if it's resonated, and I'm wishing you all the best for this waxing moon cycle. See you in a fortnight. Hi Capricorn, and welcome to your new moon in Virgo reading. So I hope you're well and that you've been hanging in there. It's been an interesting ride, hasn't it? Anyway, let's see what messages want to come through for the next 2 weeks of this waxing moon cycle. Of course, we are heading towards the equinox, so can you believe we are really at the last quarter of the year? It's gone so quickly, but yet so slowly. Very strange year, that's for sure. But this should be a good new moon for you. It's in fellow earth sign Virgo, and on top of that it's making positive aspects to Saturn, your ruling planet, so hopefully that will be reflected in your reading. Let's see what wants to come out. Do bear in mind that this is a general reading and that I design it so that it's for Capricorn rising. So if Capricorn is not your rising sign, I do recommend that you go and watch the video for whatever your ascendant is, because then these the house placements here will be more accurate. And of course there's always my full moon forecasts on my website for members, so if you haven't signed up, go to astrologysphere.com/subscribe and sign up for free. That way you'll get the in-depth astrology to go with this reading. Okay, so you're feeling a little bit antsy, Capricorn. Yeah, interesting. We've got mirroring energy going on here. So all four are Mars related, so this is really interesting. This is very strongly divine masculine energy. This is, I get a strong sense of frustration, wanting to move forward, but you know, perhaps realizing that certain things have to be resolved or wrapped up or processed or worked through first, integrated before that can happen. So we've got Rubeus here in your first and your 10th house. So you've got some goal in mind. It could be something to do with soul purpose, but equally it could be about career. And you're very fixed on it. You are almost to the point of obsession. You're determined to see it through. You know, Scorpio is very determined energy, but you know, this can lean a little bit towards obsession. So sometimes a light touch to make sure that you allow energies to flow is what is required. We will pull some clarification here with the Magpie Oracle trinkets in a bit. And then when it comes to relationships, particularly significant others and family, we've got Puer twice again. So this is Mars in Aries. So here we're talking about either conflict, or we're talking about asserting yourself, or a fresh start. It can be any one of those things. Again, you know, we will clarify, but there's this definite sense of wanting to press ahead, push forward, maybe with the purchase of a home, or with a family matter. There may also be conflict between you and a key family member. Perhaps you're feeling that you have to stand your ground and assert yourself. Maybe you feel as though this person doesn't listen to your needs, or really kind of get where you're coming from. But let's find out more. You know, conflict is not always a bad thing. It's just how we go about conflict, whether they, you know, we just want to sort of fight for the sake of fighting, or whether we actually want to resolve something. Interesting. So when it comes to creative collaborations, work colleagues, children, I really do feel as though you want harmony and you want smooth and harmonious relationships. When it comes to friendships, it seems as though things are a little bit in transition for you, and that could be because of where you're at. You know, this could be a dark night of the soul kind of energy, and with that often comes a shift in terms of who we associate with. And Via here does suggest that there seems to be a little bit of a transition happening when it comes to friendships, groups, and who you associate with. It does also point to some kind of group venture, because we've got Populus in the 8th house of joint ventures, and Populus is often about community and or group situations. So it could be that you're involved in some kind of group effort. Now the 11th house it's not always about friendship. It can be about either professional associations, or it could be about where we come together with other people who share our aspirations for society. So it can be a charity, foundation, a political movement, something of that ilk. And with Rubeus here, sometimes Rubeus can be about power, but very often this is about the cup being spilt and not being able to move on from the fact that the cup has been spilt. So that's just something to bear in mind. We've also got, interestingly, Cauda Draconis in your 3rd house. Cauda Draconis is the tail of the dragon, and it's usually about the end of a cycle. Now placed in your 3rd house, which is communication, but also your mental outlook, your thoughts. And we've got Via in your 12th house of the psyche. It does look as though a shift does need to happen when it comes to your outlook or the way that you communicate. And of course, this stands to affect very much your beliefs, which is why we've got Draconis in your 9th house. So this is the head of the dragon. So we've got a fresh start happening, perfect energy for a new moon, and then we've got the end of a cycle. So as one door closes, another one begins. So as your way of thinking or your way of communicating changes, so do you either gain in wisdom, or your outlook kind of broadens, your beliefs shift. And a change in communication could have very positive and powerful impacts on relationships, particularly if you are in conflict with others. But it's worth just stopping a minute to see what is happening in the houses where the new moon will be. So for you, that is 9th house actually. Perfect. So I do associate this geomantic figure, Caput Draconis, with new moons as well as solar eclipses, so that may be significant. So definitely pressing the reset button, particularly when it comes to beliefs, anything to do with higher education, publishing, as well as the law, cultural activities, and of course spirituality. So quite an important new moon, I think, for you, Capricorn. And then of course the sun and the moon in Virgo will be making a trine to Saturn, which is in your sign here in Capricorn. So that does bode well. It's great for manifesting, it's great for mastery, and just generally for kind of leveling up or graduating. So let's see, let's pull a few trinkets just to clarify. Interesting. So here we've got the coffin. So definitely the end of some sort of cycle. Something that you've been quite upset about, possibly, as I say, a little bit obsessed. This is red, so it's passion. And very often it's negative passions. This is a cup turned upside down. So it's something that you are grieving possibly, or that you're finding difficult to let go of, but you'll manage. The coffin is saying that you will manage to close out this cycle. So let's have a look at the new moon itself. Interesting. This is the birds, and as we can see, it's not just any old birds, it's two owls. So really pointing to wisdom here, and the wisdom that comes through dialogue. Now this could be dialogue in the sense of between an initiate and his master or teacher. This is very much in keeping with the Platonic dialogues and would fit with the 9th house. Your relationship with your spirit guides, essentially. But you know, equally this could be about communication with somebody who lives at a distance from you, maybe in a different country or different state, different county. Communication does seem to be very key here. I think for resolving most of your dilemmas, yes. So change your communication and your outlook, and you change your luck. The clover here is all about a surprising turn of events that is positive. So similar to Uranus in a way. Interesting. So Mars is in Aries, and Mars is squaring Saturn here in your 1st house. So it's worth just pausing to think about where Mars is. And in fact, it is here in your 4th house of family and home. Funny that you've then got Mars in Aries sitting in that house. So this is Puer, as I said. This is new beginnings. It can also be about conflict. So let's just pull. Let's pull a trinket on that. Interesting. So you've got the counterpoint to Mars. This is Venus, the girl, and I think it's pointing to Puella here, which is all about harmony in relationships, compromise, coming together with others, working with others rather than fighting with them. And I do think it's fair to say that because of that Saturn-Mars square, that what we're being asked to do during this 2-week phase is to make some adjustments when it comes to the area that Mars is located. So here in your 4th house of home and family. Now it could be that you've learned patterns from your upbringing, from your childhood, and they haven't been particularly helpful when it comes to asserting your needs in relationships, or when it comes to handling conflict. But this trinket is pointing to a need to find another way, a need to find the middle ground, compromise. So perhaps a child could help with that, something that a child says. But equally it could be about a new love coming in that has the potential to teach you more about relationships. Or a work colleague who has a lot to teach you, and this could be the teacher. It's not always, you know, the kind of guru that turns up. Sometimes it's someone in our everyday life who has a soul contract with us that can teach us these things. So let's just pull a trinket here. Interesting, home. So this is pointing to family. I think pointing back to Puer here. Very interesting. So this does seem to have something to do with a familiar, with somebody that is familiar to you, someone who feels like home, but more than likely a family member. And it could be, as I say, a child, because this is the house of children. Let's have one for that 6th house Puella. Interesting. So progress definitely when it comes to health and work. This is the rider, similar to the chariot, and it's all about forward momentum. So definitely harmony, collaboration, things working out well when it comes to everyday life, health and work. And this is also reflected in the 2nd house. We've got Laitisha in the 2nd house, which is earned income, and this is extremely positive. It's all about joy, it's about happiness, it's about a light-hearted attitude. So I think, you know, I know it's difficult for you, Capricorn, because you take finances and the material world so seriously, but I think what this reading is really saying is there's a need to kind of lighten up a little bit. You know, Rubeus is very heavy energy. As I say, it's quite sort of obsessive, dark energy. And I think what you're being asked to do is kind of lighten up a little, let things flow a little bit, allow for new beginnings, choose to let go of old ways of seeing and being. You know, release conflict. Let's have a trinket here for Puer. Yeah, definitely. So love, not war. Make love, not war. So come from the heart space, definitely. And I think that relationships, particularly family relationships, will improve. But equally, you know, if you are wanting either a new relationship, a romantic relationship, or you're keen for things to get going with a current one, maybe in a new direction, then that does look possible. So yeah, interesting reading, Capricorn. I think your last reading was also quite you know, heavy, quite deep. So this seems to be a continuation. But new starts happening for you in 9th house. That's the key to remember. And to learn more about the astrology, do subscribe to my website and you can get access to the in-depth astrology forecasts that I do for the full and the new moon. But let's get you some parting advice from the Universe Has Your Back Oracle deck. What parting message do we have for Capricorn? Whoops, that wanted to come out. Okay, so what does it say? So in any moment, I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. So I think the key word here is surrender. Let it go, Capricorn. Let it go. And then you'll just see a reset will just happen. Nice reading. Lots of love to you, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hi Aquarius, welcome to your new moon reading. I hope you're well. Let's see what messages want to come through for you this moon phase. So what messages do we have for Aquarius for the new moon in Virgo? Can't believe we are already in September. This year's just flown by. You may have noticed, Aquarius, but I've got new cards. I hope they are clearer for you to see. Not 100% happy with them, so I'm not offering them for sale quite yet. I first want to do a few tweaks, and I'm also thinking about making them a little bit bigger. But I'll let you know once they are available, and if you want to do a pre-order, you are welcome. Alright, let's see what wants to come out. So I'm not doing conversions this time around. I'm a little bit pressed for time. Got too much on. Still, I don't think it's going to affect the reading too much. Whenever there's an element of chance involved, the spirit can speak. Interesting. So you may have Capricorn placements. Okay. Quite a few interesting themes going on sort of throughout the readings. A lot of kind of mirroring energy going on. So as we come into this particular new moon, Aquarius, it seems as though you can't shake something. It's either a feeling, maybe you're feeling a little bit angry or agitated. Possibly you're a little bit obsessed about something. You are fixated on a particular outcome or a person or a situation. But it does look as though you're kind of coming in not feeling in the best of places. Rubeus is about passion, but very often it's negative passion. This is a cup. This figure at the bottom is a cup turned upside down. So feeling as though your wine has been spilt. We'll find out more using some trinkets in a minute, but let's just say that you're kind of coming in not feeling in the best place. You're feeling a little bit out of control perhaps. But the good news is that if it's about a relationship or something to do with home or family, you do have the support, and the positive changes that you are hoping for are coming. Fortuna Minor here is really, a very positive geomantic figure. Things are going to change for the best. If you do need help, it is going to come. You just need to ask for it. Your family does have your back. Your besties have your back. Your other half wants to support you. So there's no need to sort of feel so alone and kind of be so secretive or withdrawn, that I can see at this point. And then when it comes to your career, wow, Acquisitio, Jupiter in Sagittarius, very expansive energy. So it looks as though you are going places career-wise, which is nice to see. Let's see what else is going on. Wow. So, yeah, the new moon is definitely going to bring some abundance your way, that's for sure. Interesting. So if we start with the that new moon in Virgo, this falls in your 8th house of joint ventures as well as shared resources. And here we've got the same geomantic figure that we have in your 10th house and your 11th house of groups. So that suggests to me that success is coming in terms of your career, and it may come as a result of a group collaboration of some kind, or a partnership that involves a friend, because the 11th house is the house of friendship, but also of professional associations, so where we kind of join together with other people over shared causes, or because we are part of the same profession. And this is really your house, Aquarius, the 11th house. You are all about the fellowship of man. So it looks as though by expressing your sun sign's natural qualities, which is to sort of gravitate towards group situations, group collaborations, platonic love, as well as the pursuit of ideals, you really are going to A, fulfill your soul purpose, and B, potentially come into financial gain, so abundance. And if we look over here in your 2nd house of income, we've got conjuncture, which is confirming this idea that when you work together with other people, that it will pay off financially, that you will reap the rewards. Now it's interesting that the sun and the moon in Virgo at this new moon will be making a very positive aspect to Saturn in Capricorn. And Capricorn sits in your 12th house here, the house of the psyche. And here we've got Puella, This is Venus in Libra. And this is really positive energy. It's all about peace, compromise, harmony, as well as artistic collaboration and balance. So it seems as though the key for you to manifesting this abundance is through A, harmonious relationships, and B, through psychological balance. Now that's the opposite of what we're seeing here in the first house. So I think that's a message to you from the universe, that you need to relax a little bit. You need to let go of whatever it is that's got you so worked up. And in fact, if we look at your third house of mentality, mental outlook, we've got Missio, which is Venus in Taurus, and this is about literally loss or letting go, about transience. So in other words, allowing things to flow, and that sometimes means letting go of whatever it is that we think should happen. Because here in your ninth house of beliefs, we've got Albus, blank sheet of paper, fresh start. So I think this is asking you to just let go of some limiting beliefs about the way that you think a situation should go. Or if you are kind of clinging on to something that has passed, that you need to kind of allow yourself to grieve and to move on. Now it's interesting that we've got Capricorn here in your fifth house. This is about new beginnings or fresh starts. So it could be that the key to cultivating this particular energy is a holiday, because the fifth house can be about holidays. And in fact, with Via here in your sixth house, this is also about travel. So maybe you do need to get away for a little bit, break up your everyday routine, and this could get you out of whatever this funk is, this kind of stuck record energy that is really holding you back. Because when we look at all the other geomantic figures in this reading, they are all so positive. So the only thing that's holding you back, Aquarius, is you. Let's pull some trinkets just to clarify. So what is Aquarius so obsessed about? Gosh. So the cross here points to some kind of burden, but equally a belief, because this can be about, you know, our spiritual or our religious beliefs. But you're definitely carrying a cross, suffering on some level, when I don't think you need to be. So what should Aquarius let go of? Interesting. The birds. So something that somebody said or said about you. Maybe there was some gossip. Maybe there's a conversation and you wish you'd said something and you didn't. The geomantic figure, though, is suggesting you need to let it go, though. So let's have one for the new moon. Interesting, the garden. So this is about public spaces or kind of points of congregation, communal space. So I think, again, it's highlighting this idea of collaborating with others, a kind of group spirit that will lead to prosperity and success. Let's have one for that seventh house, for Fortuna Minor. Definitely. So progress when it comes to relationships or partnerships for work. and 1 for Acquisitio in that 10th house. So I think do what you love. This is definitely about heartfelt initiatives, passion projects, something, you know, a shared cause, something that's close to your heart. I think it stands to be very successful. Interesting reading, Aquarius. Let's get a final card of advice from the universe. Has your back. So some advice please for Aquarius, just to close out their reading. Right. So there you have it. Oneness is my true nature. And if we think about Puella, you know, kind of harmony, about coming together, conjunctio, which is also about joining, and then all this emphasis on collaboration, it does seem as though you have, for whatever reason, set yourself apart, and this is causing enormous suffering. So talk to whoever it is, clear the air, because you'll feel a lot better for it. Support is there if you need it, from family and from significant others. Shift those beliefs, reset the clock, and then it looks like the world is your oyster, Aquarius. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm sending you lots of love and a big hug, and I'll see you in a fortnight. Hi Pisces, and welcome to your new moon reading for the September Virgo new moon. So this is going to be another important lunar phase for you. After the Pisces full moon, we've got the Virgo full moon, which falls in your 7th house of relationships. So let's get into the reading and see what messages we've got for you. Definitely fresh starts possible, and the key word here is joy. If you listen to the astrology at the beginning of this video, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you're interested in learning more about the astrology, then think about subscribing on my website to my bi-monthly newsletter. You become a site member, and it will give you access to the membership area of my website, where there are all sorts of bonus materials and resources that are not available in the public domain. But as you can see, I have redesigned my cards. Still not 100% happy with them, so I'm going to do a few tweaks first before I offer them. I open them up for pre-order. So let's find out what I think that one wants to go on top. Okay, let's find out what is in store for Pisces. So again, you probably noticed that I'm not doing my conversions. I'm a little bit time pressed. Got quite a lot of work on, so burning the midnight oil here, and I don't have time to do the conversions, but I don't think it will matter too much. Nice. Definitely new beginnings in relationships and career, by the looks of things. Interesting. So yeah, so as I was saying, you are going to come into this new moon with a strong sense of wanting support from your nearest and dearest. And we know that from previous readings you haven't had the easiest time when it comes to relationships, so that's perfectly understandable. It's probably also fair to say that you're keen for a kind of change and uptick in circumstances, and I think everyone is feeling that, especially after the first pass of that Mars-Saturn square that happened at the end of August. Now the bad news is that there will be a second pass of this energy, of this particular transit, at the end of September, and that for most of September that energy will be kind of in the background. But this shouldn't stop us, because well, that's one of the main messages actually of this particular new moon, is to sort of cultivate joy despite obstacles, delays, hindrances or frustrations. So I think you're kind of coming in with the right attitude. You know, you're keen to make that happen. Now when it comes to family, on some level you're wanting to come together. So it could literally be coming together with family, breaking bread, seeing maybe people that you've been separated from in a while, reunions, family reunions of sorts. But equally it could be about joining forces with family, maybe to buy a property, some kind of financial or business venture. We'll find out more once we get all the cards up, and then we can pull some trinkets for clarification. Now when it comes to significant others, this could be business partnerships as well as romantic partnerships. We've got Puer here, and this is where the new moon is going to happen. So the sun and the moon in Virgo will be sitting here in your 7th house of significant partnerships. So for me, this is about a reset, you wanting to hit the reset button when it comes to your key relationships. Now these also may affect your career, because we've got the same geomantic figure repeated in your 10th house of success, career and public life. So I don't think this figure is about conflict. It can sometimes be, but I think because of the sun and the moon here, this new moon energy, that this is really about a fresh start. Interesting. So an echo here in your 2nd house of conjunctio. So definitely about kind of coming together, about balancing opposites. I think pooling resources financially, maybe to buy a property and a family home. Or you could be starting a family business. That's the other thing, of course. Yes, because it looks to me as though something in your everyday life is ending, possibly a job. And there is a fresh start when it comes to group initiatives. So maybe this is the collaboration that we're seeing here. Perhaps you and some friends are clubbing together to buy a house. That's one interpretation. Or alternatively, you and a group of family members are pooling your resources and maybe going into some venture that involves more than 2 people. That's another way we can read this. But the key thing here is that the sun and the moon will be making a trine aspect to Saturn in Capricorn. And for you, I think that falls in your 11th house, yes. So definitely I'm thinking some kind of business venture that involves a group of people. Now this doesn't have to be friends. This could have something to do with a professional association, a charity, a political movement. This is about social media as well. It's essentially about congregating. So it's about coming together with people that you share values with, that you have a single purpose or vision that is shared, that you can achieve collectively more than you can individually. And it can sometimes be about our kind of ideals or our political beliefs, that kind of thing. But definitely a fresh start possible. And with Saturn here, this is very strong manifesting energy. It's also about mastery, and it's about responsibility, but responsibility that I think will bring satisfaction because of this trine aspect to the sun and the moon here in the 7th house. I think whatever you put work into when it comes to, you know, group efforts will definitely pay off, and it looks as though it will pay off financially as well, given that, you know, we've got this conjuncture here twice. Although, you know, it doesn't have to be related. It could be that, you know, this is about family finances and that this is something else. But I do think it has something to do with work, given that we've got Cauda-Draconis in your 6th house. So this is the house of work. It's the house of everyday life. It's also about, you know, our everyday work environment and health. So something ending in that area of your life. Now, as I said, Saturn will be in orb of a square to Mars, and Mars in Aries does fall in your 2nd house of income. So this may require a few adjustments, you know, as a result of that square energy. So if obstacles do come up, see them as being fortunate delays, preventing you from going down an avenue that isn't really going to work or that's not meant for you, and redirecting you, you know, that kind of thing. Rejection is redirection. Because you do seem to have a few control issues around, or fears possibly, around sharing money. Which I think we need to look at with we need to clarify. It's definitely something on your mind. It's here in your 12th house of psyche as well. So what is this Rubeus? Maybe you think you've had bad luck in the past. Maybe people have betrayed your trust, which is fine. Let's have one more in that 12th house. Yes, definitely. We've got the fox here, which can be about trickery. So maybe you've had the wool pulled over your eyes when it comes to joint finances in the past, you know, either by a former business partner, a romantic partner, a family member, somebody you went into business with, or that you shared assets with. And, you know, come to think of it, we've got a Missio here in your 9th house, which can be about court cases. So could also be a divorce settlement, I guess. Maybe you lost money and it's kind of left you not trusting. Let's have one for that new moon energy. Interesting. So we've got the letter, which is all about communication. So if you are keen to either solidify a business relationship or perhaps pursue a romantic relationship, it may involve signing some papers or some kind of written message. So it could be a contract here, but equally it could be, you know, an email, a text, something of that ilk. Kind of initiating something, if we think about it, because this is the new moon and we've got Puer here. So taking action. Right, let's have one for the 10th house. Interesting. So we've got the Tower here, which is about either somebody you look up to, getting advice from someone you look up to, who perhaps has knowledge that you don't, or it can sometimes be about feeling a little bit isolated, but I think in this case it's about getting advice, professional advice, perhaps before you start some new venture or new job. Let's have one here to see if you are, what this is about, this ending. Yeah, so it looks like the end of a difficult situation of some kind, a burden. So it could be ill health, it could be a job that you absolutely hated, But something in your everyday life is coming to an end, and it's a good thing. You're not glad to see the back of it, put it that way. So let's just have one here for conjunctio in your fourth. Yeah, definitely a sort of coming together, perhaps with a female relative, or another a female, you know, to sort of house share. Interesting. And let's have one for the second house. So you're at a crossroads of some kind of decision that involves you and another female. Super interesting reading. Let's just have one more to kind of clarify. So whatever it is like a slow grower. This can be about health, can be about spirituality, but it's also about putting down roots. So, you know, maybe it is something to do with a home, you know, putting down roots, literally moving in together, buying a property together, something that gives you a base, you know, in which to sort of settle. Or it could be about, you know, family, you know, because roots is also about family, isn't it? Very interesting. Let me know in the comments what this is about. Quite mysterious. Anyway, let's get you some final advice. Interesting. I always trust the direction of the universe, and I know I'm being guided. So I think some nice advice to end off your reading with, Pisces. Whatever this crossroads is, just know that you are being guided, that you will make the right decision, and don't stress too much about, you know, having the wool pulled over your eyes, because it doesn't look as though that will happen. Just ask for advice from, you know, from people in the know, and I think you will be fine. Fascinating reading. Anyway, lots of love to you, Pisces, and I'll catch you in a couple of weeks.